we don't go to individual websites anymore. So it has to be on a scroll.
Right.
You know, you got to be able to see it on a scroll.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, and I said in the earlier podcast, I love Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Karl, welcome back. Episode 3 of the Bootstrap Farmer Market Gardener podcast. We're also here with Kari, Daniel, our lovely and talented co-host, and Michael Bell of Dallas Half Acres Farms, who you may have seen on the Bootstrap Farmer episode recently. Today we're going to talk about market opportunities for small farming. Welcome to the show, fellas and ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here,
Yeah, good to see you.
Professor.
So, unique farmers market primarily, a little bit of stores, direct to consumer, farmers markets, pop-up events, whatever. And then Kari is a buyer, the most ideal buyer you could hope for in a situation like this. She would buy from all of us if we were all in Paris. So I think it's going to work out. Karl,
Sir.
if there was anything that you would like to start off with, I would be highly entertained with whatever you have to say.
So here's where I'm at right now is the first few years have been, how do I grow? And now we've kind of peaked, right? The last 2 years. So like the first few years were like year over year, 100% growth, right? Which was not much. Went from $10 to $20. So that may sound more impressive than what it actually means. But last year to this year, we still had growth. We had 25%, but I did nothing different except for improved yields. And so now I figured out, hey, we can now farm. And now it's that age-old question. Okay, now you can grow. How are you going to sell? And so expanding our markets, which is why I was asking you a little earlier on the side there, Michael, about, the Dallas, farmers market. And so now it goes back to that age-old phenomena or whatever issue of, hey, you can either sell or you can grow. When you first started, you got into this for some reason. It was like, oh, I've got connections, I can sell. Well, then you realize, well, I don't even know how to grow. Or like everybody else, you can grow and you can deal with plants, but you can't deal with people. And so that's kind of where I guess I'm at for this year. It's like the growth goals for me is what markets, what else can we do to generate more revenue, find more people to sell to, doing some custom salads, those types of things, exploring other markets. How saturated are we actually in Paris right now? Have we explored all our markets here? So that's where I'm at this current season, of farming.
I feel like it's important to give context. So
Sure.
We live in a town of 25,000 people, 40,000 in the county total. So your market is 40,000 people. Previous podcast we discussed with Michael. I mean, you're
Pretty much unlimited.
unlimited,
Yeah.
but you're sticking within 2 to 3 neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Neighborhood can mean thousands of houses, but it's in a condensed area.
Yep.
So your problem is it would be very difficult. We're in a big county to deliver to everywhere. Ergo, it's great for you guys to go to the farmer's market in one central location in which you have built a market from scratch, basically. Right. I don't think you're anywhere near scratching the surface of what's possible in this town, because I know there's so much more that could be done, that has been done, that's not being done any longer. I'm talking about me dropping out, coming to Bootstrap Farmer and abandoning Kari and all of her saddle living friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
It's a cult.
it was a cult to speak of.
Mm-hmm.
But through that and everything you just said, I think exploring different niches while not being married to any one of them, so you could test the waters, is a very valuable lesson and a good place to start. So what are some things you're doing right now to see what's out there without going all in on something?
Yeah, so we are exploring. We've made some salads. We're exploring salad dressings. We're giving out samples of them. We have some people that have approached us. Right, I mean, opportunities find us as well. We're at the farmers market. We're engaging with people, and so there's a lot of activity happening in Paris. Restaurants. The Paris is kind of going through this turn, right? And
it's barely beginning.
Right.
I mean, this hasn't even started yet.
What's it turning from into?
Well, it's literally, I mean, here's how I used to say it, because we had just bought the land up here and we'd come up and visit.
He's
I'd
going
go
to say
back
it
to
nicer
Fort
than I
Worth.
will.
It's like literally stepping back in time 40 years, at least 5 years ago, it felt like that. I mean, it was bizarre how, which is nice because it reminds me of the Cars movie. If you saw that, you got kids, right?
Thousands of times I have 3 kids.
Yeah, right. We could probably all recite that. But, it was like a small little town that the main highway went through at one time. And then comes this big city called Dallas, and they route 35W or 35, Interstate 35. And all of a sudden, everybody forgot about Paris, But now it's turning because all the historical and just, it's a small town feel, and, going to be able to do what they've done in all these other, like McKinney and all these other areas. And so it's literally in this expansion model, if you will, or turning. They've got a master plan for it. So,
and I'm going to take the most diplomatic approach to this because look, this is going to echo in small towns, no matter where you're listening, right? This is a fried catfish town, okay? Friday nights, fried catfish is king. That's where everybody goes.
So you don't have an Olive Garden yet?
No.
We just got a Chick-fil-A.
Okay, so then that's like the marker of every small town is, do you have an Olive Garden? So if you don't have an Olive Garden, then you can relate to what Nick's saying.
Okay, so good point. I believe now, after careful reflection and trying to be very nice about everything in the situation, I feel that this is a town that people have lived in for generations, and as they have celebrated engagements and weddings and graduations and birthdays and all the things that people do, that they have attached all these very positive family and friend moments to some of these eating locations. How you think I'm doing here? Okay. And so the background of the food is not, for us, this is hard to deal with because this is the whole thing that we celebrate is the food and everything goes into it. And when it becomes background of background and it's just always been there and that's where we go, then nobody is forced to be excellent and nobody's taste buds changed.
Yeah.
So the city's in a rut when it comes to food.
A little bit.
Huge.
A little bit. That was very
I think
enlightened.
you did very good.
Very enlightened of me.
Yes.
I love Paris.
Mm-hmm.
I want more for Paris and I want people to explore more and I want more opportunities. But when they come here, they have to be supported.
Mm-hmm.
And what I feel is going to happen in the next 10 years or so is there will unfortunately be a loss of a generation or two and younger people that have been outside of the county and that have gone to college and come back and have experienced things are going to want things that they want somewhere else. You're prime to get in on some of that as some new restaurants are coming in, particularly to the downtown area where that kind of thing is going to be more accepted. And we're starting to see it.
Yeah, it is. It's right in a turn. I mean, here's one more nugget to think about for Paris, like where we're at. It has never grown outside 25,000 people.
Didn't I tell you that on the way up? It's always been the same.
Population never grow. It's not the birth rate. It's people leave and then,
My hometown's the same way. We've been between 3,000 and 5,000 for the 45 years I've been on Earth.
Yeah. So,
completely understand.
And I would say for 75% of the farmers out there, this is the market, not Paris, but Paris-like activity. You're stuck with 40, 50,000 people, blah. And out of that, less than 5% are going to look for the stuff that we're growing.
Right. Yeah,
because food has taken such a back seat in society.
Right.
That's just where we're at.
Well, especially as we've said on previous podcasts, we're in the deep South here, right, Paris? I mean, we're East Texas. So that is, another challenge that we have is this type of food is different, what we're doing. People are like, well, we can.
And look, I'm not saying it's bad food. It tastes great. That's the problem. It tastes great and it's, 1,500 calories per bite. There's just room to grow.
Right.
And
absolutely.
with that room to grow, we're talking about market opportunities. Here we are. So how is small farming going to help facilitate some of these new taste changes along the way?
Right.
Now, you have the opportunity, Michael Bell, if you're listening to this audio, you have the opportunity to affect this change at a household level where it's becoming part of the norm to remember how crappy the salad used to be. Remember, it comes down to anything that they're using of yours is going to start being a change for that family, for that kids. They're going to go out and about to the world. And every time anybody else that buys from you goes anywhere, the salad is going to be subpar. The lettuce is going to be
Or they're going to be looking for a local farm.
Right. Or they're going to start making a decision to spend a little bit more money, do a little bit more research, and start to understand. And if that happens at the home level, Now we have an opportunity for somebody like Karl, who is trying to get in at some of these new restaurants. And look, I would love to have some local restaurateurs come in here. Maybe. Easy. And talk about
light bulbs are going off right now.
Yeah. But this cannot just be us trying to facilitate this change, because you're growing, you're not cooking, you're not serving. It has to be a partnership with restaurateurs, with event centers, with Michael Bell, to your situation at the home level. All of these are ripe with opportunity. That's why we're sitting here having this conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and so 2 things on that. One is, I'm going to go back and answer the other question yet on what we're doing, how we're exploring new things. We've got people that approach us that are looking at new restaurants here, which is exciting. Even in Bonham, we've had some interest from folks there, and then we're exploring just what can we do with what we already have, right? Trying to make more money out of this, out of what we're already growing, because we still do overplant. We're always expecting somebody else is going to hop on board and need.
You can't
more
afford
lettuce.
not to,
right? And because customers don't understand, especially a restaurant, they come up to you and say, "Hey, we want to get lettuce." Okay, well, we need whatever 50 pounds a week. Well, all right, well, that's going to be 60 days out, right? I mean,
If it's a
best
good time
case
of year.
scenario, right? Yeah, because of where you're at if it's middle of winter. So that's a challenge. I just lost my second point. What did you just end on? Gosh.
It always helps me to remember when everybody just stares at me.
The good thing is it doesn't bother me. I've been in too many awkward situations where I can
we got
talk.
a hell of an editor these days.
We have a what?
A hell of an editor. We can.
Yeah,
You'll come back to it. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's there. It's like just there.
Yeah.
Stare at me a little while longer.
Here, don't worry about it. Just
All right.
go put yourself in neutral for a second.
Okay.
So, Michael, from a home level, what do you think when people are talking to you about what they're getting from you, aside from great? Did you remember it?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
That's all it took. So, and then the second point is expanding on our yield and knowing what's selling more and more, because even though we know people don't buy bok choy, we keep planting it because I'm trying to get these people to, it's an easy grow. I want people to do it. And so now it's kind of like we're starting to give up on some of those things and really focusing on, we've got a new tunnel that I should have just planted all carrots. Like the whole thing should just be carrots, because every week we run out of carrots.
We had a whole thing about carrots in the last podcast.
We had several whole things about carrots.
Would it surprise you to know that 2,400 hulls of NFT production that I had, at least 10% constantly was bok choy?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Who'd you sell it to?
Salad mix, man. It went
had
in the
you put it
salad mix.
inside your
See,
salad
now
mix?
that's a really good idea, because as we're exploring our salads,
Mhm.
that would be something that we could put in there.
See, that's what I
bok choy.
always do. I always take quick growing crops like Mizuna,
Mm-hmm.
red Russian kale,
Shingunku.
whatever he said.
Dude, you're looking at, I'm sorry. We're going to talk over each other. We're just so excited going back to the nerd bit of all this.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a 30-day crop versus a 45-day
Yeah.
crop. Think of how much, and look, this stuff explodes. That's a lot more turns per year
Yeah.
that you're supplementing the head lettuce with,
Mm-hmm.
which means you're having to grow less head lettuce and you're getting more turns per year. Everything
Right.
goes up. And look, it looks awesome. I'm going to let you finish.
Yeah. No,
He's itchy.
what I'm dying to tell you, because this is my salad mix is my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Like obviously carrots aren't, but it also changes the flavor of your salad mix, which keeps everybody happy.
Mhm.
Like, yes, they will eat lettuce strictly. Like there's a lot of times I just do strictly lettuce, nothing else in it. But then I'll throw in a little Mizuna, and they'll always make a comment. I might have one person out of 50. I don't like that Mizuna. Well, tough.
Pick it out.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Or then the next week I'll do more red Russian kale if I'm short on lettuce. I've done red Russian kale and Mizuna, and there was a couple weeks when I lost a whole bed of transplanted lettuce that I forgot to water in. So, and I knew it, and I knew I was going to be short in a couple weeks, so I planned on growing pea shoots that week. So I included pea shoots, Mizuna, and red Russian kale, and a little bit of lettuce. So for me, anytime I can add in I call them auxiliary greens, I don't look at it as a negative. I look at it, they're going to get a different tasting salad this week.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't like it, it's only going to be 1 week.
Right.
And if they complain, I just give them their money back. Like, okay, sorry. Because my customers are weekly or bi-weekly. Like I've had them for years. So I want to keep them happy. It's not that big of a deal. But if I was in your shoes and I had your space after seeing it today, I'd be planting a ton of auxiliary greens.
Right. Yeah. And we tried that for a while. We failed. And then I gave up. I need to go back.
Selling it or growing it?
Both.
So here's an interesting thing. Kari was with me again. I really suggest, if you haven't checked out Michael Bell's first podcast, you probably listen to that to get caught up to speed. But to shortcut it, Kari was a member of my salad club from day one to the time it ended, right before I came to Bootstrap Farmer.
Mm-hmm.
How many different salads do you think you got over a 52-week period?
A lot.
About 30. I had about 30 different salads in rotation. So rarely did somebody have the same salad twice in a year.
Just a question. How many of those did you mean to, and how many of them was, oh, crap, that didn't produce. I'll just have to put this in there.
I had no limits on myself. Whatever we had.
You just put in there.
So the way this worked was Sunday, I went up to the farm. What was doing the best, because we were seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
We're also hydro, which means all my base salad stuff was indoor hydro, very precise.
Yep.
So half of it was salad, and the rest was all Asian greens. So these quick growing greens, I should probably say 10, 12% was just strictly basil, because we're jamming through basil. But
you put basil in your salad mix?
No, pestos. That was my add-on product.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was about to say that's new.
That's weird.
But you always had a sprig, because whenever they opened up that salad, I wanted a sprig of herbs, because that sensation and the smell is really what kept people on.
And I was gonna say that's what made it so nice, is it's not just the same salad all the time.
Why would you not garnish
the variety.
It was the herbs became a garnish, but it also cemented the fact in that you were getting something super special.
Mm-hmm.
But to where I was going with this pak choi is, I mean, it was probably in almost every single salad, but you didn't know it. You didn't care, because everything was super different all the time. The mix was always different. I never had a set mix.
Mm-hmm.
Now we would have, for instance, we did a lot of spinach stuff, and that typically tended to be a sweeter salad with a berry and a pecan or an almond or something like that, like a Fontana cheese, but it's like a real nutty kind of fruity cheese. But that's what we were pairing it up with. But that took you as the farmer tasting this stuff and knowing what you had, and also knowing what you had season over season. Yeah. Because I guarantee you the stuff that we were growing in the summer, same crop, same variety, same seed lot, was vastly different in the winter than it was in the summer, even in indoor growing conditions.
But it's kind of like I don't remember which one of you said it, but there was a couple of times that I don't remember what it was, that I think it was parsley or something that we just didn't like, but we knew that
we had one time deal.
I'll tell you right what it was, because I had to hear about it.
Arugula. Cilantro. That's what it was.
He remembers.
Yes.
He's got PTSD.
He sees cilantro.
Yeah, he still does cilantro to this day.
Well, little Miss Herbal over here, no cilantro, no cucumbers.
No cucumbers?
Oh, I can't. Cucumbers are
Are you from Texas?
Yes.
Wow.
But listen, every time I had cucumbers and cilantro, she still got it and she dealt with it.
Right.
Because we were unwavering in our system, because the system worked.
Yeah.
But there's a thing, I mean, I don't know what it is about humanity. You always wanting the next thing, right? We can't listen to the same song over and over again. We wait for the next song to come out, even though it tells the same story. The same thing is with food. I mean, we have customers that come up every week and say, "What do you have this week?" And so there's an excitement and so I think that same thing carries over into the salad, right? That it's like, oh, I want to know what the chef makes today. It reminds me of another scene. I don't know why I'm on cartoon mode today, but in Ratatouille, it was like they always anticipated what.
A lot of Disney references in this podcast.
I don't know why. It's the way my brain works. They've been indoctrinated with Disney movies, apparently. But anyway, but that's the point is that, people look forward to what's next, and we have people that are they'll just buy it even if they've never had it or don't even like it. They just know it's fresh, it's new, I want it. Yep. So
I've had several people buy beets from me that don't like beets.
They don't like beets. But
they want it because they know they're high in iron, they're healthy, and they're like $3.
Right. So
they'll buy them from me just so that they can get it, feel healthy.
Well, and plus they know that, there's a story behind the beet too. They know that you grew it. So it's going to taste different because they know the hands that it came from. So
here's the other thing that Pak Choi afforded us is there's, especially with a salad mix, there's a texture element, and then in that there's hearty greens and then there's softer greens. So for instance,
crunch.
Tokyo Bacana, are you aware? You know what this is? You've seen it up at Drew's before. It's a real, almost lime green fat leaf. Man, it grows fast. Neutral taste. It's fantastic. And it's good for loft in a salad. So if you're a little low, you can put Bacana in there and the salad looks bigger than what it is. And everything, it gives you a lot of spring, but it's soft. So if you don't mix that in with a romaine or an incised lettuce or a Mizuna that's real sturdy, like you could take it and beat it and it doesn't bruise. Like all that different texture is what makes a spring mix so special. And so knowing that you have way more options than what you're limiting yourself to on head lettuce right now. Man, this is super nerdy. But I mean, this is this level of dedication we put into what we did. That's what it takes to separate yourself up to command higher prices.
Right.
Because it wasn't just iceberg thrown in a bag. There's some brown in there. Who cares? This is what we had to do.
My buddy in San Antonio, Clark's Greens, he does endive.
Yeah.
He puts a
great.
ton of endive in his salad mix.
So I think we should probably explain it, because if I don't know, I'm sure a lot of other people, like you said one thing. I also have a question on.
I can talk about Asian greens all night long. It's got to have to be a separate podcast because
what is endive? Another Asian green? Or?
No, I've never grown it, but I've seen him do it 100 times, and it's go. You explain, because you know what it is.
And I'm sure I'll hear about it if I'm wrong, but my understanding and my experience is you have to. It's a very specific germination procedure. It has to grow in colder environments than what I think we can do here. Now, if Clark's is doing it,
he's in San Antonio.
I would love to know, because there's yellow, there's red, super colorful, but it's a variegated bicolor. It's real pretty.
It's a filler, like you were talking about earlier. He uses it as almost like a filler.
Well, I'll tell you where it's on the main stage.
It looks like for color.
On the main stage at when you go to Knife Steakhouse in Dallas, that's one of the first things you get is rainbow carrots, radish, and endive leaves as a scoop for this green goddess dressing, and it is fantastic. It's real airy and watery, but it has a great taste.
He also does watercress.
Yeah, I mean, one plant will do you.
Yeah, he puts a lot of watercress in his salad mix too.
And I'm surprised by that, because if I knew that if I were to put more than 2 to 3% of arugula, I would hear about it. Put watercress in there, man, you're really going to hear about it. You have to, I would stay more neutral. Me, myself personally, if it's working for him, I'm pumped. I know that in my market, for who I was dealing with, if I put something that spicy and that pronounced, like I would have to really dial it down or say, hey, this is a spicy salad.
Yeah, that's what he classified his as. That's his spicy mix with the watercress. See, I'm that way with Mizuna. Like, I have to do baby. Like, if it's over a certain
you can't grow that
length,
stuff.
I don't.
Past 24, 25 days,
it gets
it's no good. It gets chewy, fibrous.
But there's a lot you can do with salad mix. Like, I don't think you've scratched the surface of what you can do with the salad mix.
We're well down that road, so we better get us off of there.
Look, this is why we created the second channel, to be able to, as market gardeners, get real technical on some of this stuff. This is like, nobody that's growing microgreens wants to hear this. But if you're people that obsess about salad greens, it's kind of important stuff to know.
Well, salad green is such an important, is probably the most important thing for a market gardener.
Go to the grocery store. What do they have the most of? Spring mix. That tells you something.
And they give up, not to interrupt you, but they also give up the refrigeration aisle, which is the most expensive part of any grocery store in the whole building, is the refrigeration aisle. So if you're a market gardener and you're trying to figure out what to start with, go to that section. Yeah. Because that's your biggest profit margin right there.
Right. Well, and for us, it's the one thing that definitely differentiates us from the stores. Like when carrots and lettuces, when they come to us and they try them, it's like we ruin them from lettuce. Like we can't even go eat a lettuce anywhere. I mean,
you get so picky as a farmer. It's almost a curse.
It is
to know how food is grown and everything that we know, and as picky as we are, especially when you start nerding out about some of this stuff, to go anywhere else And then they have the audacity to, I hate using this term, but greenwash the situation. We're a farm to table restaurant. Bullshit.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some farm somewhere.
Just not with the intended name,
Yeah,
man.
it's not
Right.
a local farm. It's some
Right.
corporate farm. Yeah, and that's that in and of itself. I mean, it sells. I mean, we'll even just give bags. You know, sometimes we have half bags just intentionally to give to people because they'll come up and they'll be like lettuce. You know, like it's of course it's
What's
it's a
the
lot
big
more
deal? They
expensive,
always
right?
think what the big deal
And we
is.
give it to
because
them,
all they've
and
ever had is peeled a piece of lettuce off of an iceberg.
That's right.
Is iceberg round?
Yeah,
What's the lettuce that
iceberg
you
round.
pick?
That's
Yeah,
right.
okay. You can cut that out, please.
No, I just
Yeah.
like the way you looked at me for validation.
Well-
Because the whole time that you're talking about iceberg lettuce, I was like, man, I sure like a wedge. Too, man. But that's
Yeah.
the thing. You just do the best you can. Sometimes you like a wedge.
Yeah.
Got some bacon off in there. Trying to stick to the topic. We got way sideways there. As your salad greens are going, and I'm going to ask you the same question, but under your lens here in a second. As your salad greens are changing throughout the season, what's the feedback from the clients? Are you having to adjust prices? Are you describing these different? Or are you just letting it roll?
A little bit of all things. So,
And I
Right.
also noticed in particular that at the market you'll do a mix, but then you also do just
yeah,
one variety.
that's what I was going to say. So
Mhm.
we're still figuring this out. I mean, just even listening, I'm already going to probably go back and make some modifications because, when I first started talking, I was literally just talking about making a salad, right? Providing everything for them, take out, go eat, right on the spot.
Mhm.
But like our typical Saturday, what we bring to market, everything right now is literally its own lettuce. So we have our Salanova crisp, but it's got the green and the red. So
Mhm.
it looks like it's a mix, but it's the same variety.
Right.
And then we do the Salanova butterhead. Same thing. It's a green and a red. And then we have our leaf lettuce. We use Starfighter for that. We really have had great success with that. It's probably one of our most profitable crops because it's we literally pick off leaves off of every plant, every week, and we can ride that plant for 2 months. It's just great. And so all of those are bagged separately. Oh, and then our butterhead. And so we'll do a mixture, and then we will bring a butterhead leafed out, or we'll leave it on the head. In the same way with the Salanova butterheads. So we don't really have any mixes that we sell at the market. I'm going to likely change and add that to the... But we don't have a problem selling. I mean, every week we sell, then people will grab their own mixes. So they'll, in some ways, it might even be better because they'll buy their own, they'll buy this lettuce and this lettuce, and then they mix them. The restaurant, the baker here, they ask us to mix that. So we'll do that. We'll do a butterhead, Salanova butterhead, and Salanova crisp.
Do you charge more for that?
Mm-mm.
Could you?
We could probably.
Because it's saving them labor.
Right.
Mhm.
As we're thinking about lettuce as a product, the delivery is a service, the mixing is a service, the special bag, like all of these are layers to adjust price. I'm not saying raise prices,
Mhm.
but at least consider what is this costing you, and if we're looking for other market opportunities, the ability to customize something for a client, especially upon request, is not out of the look. It could be $1 extra a bag. They're not going to care.
Mhm.
It's not going to
Extra
affect
wash. We charge an extra $1, $2 a pound for a second wash.
all this stuff
you know?
matters.
So, but when you're young, and I consider ourselves really young. We just ended season 4, starting season 4. I get confused on that, but anyway, you take anything you get, right? Like at first it's like, just I don't care if we're even making money. Go, if you can sell it, sell it. And now we're approaching year 4 or 5, starting our 4th or 5th season. Now we're starting to realize, you take all of that into consideration. Okay, what is actually our profit? What's our revenue? In trying to, dial all those knobs in, and that's kind of also where we're at this year, is figuring all of those things out, figuring out the profit margin. Essentially, at the end of the day, that's what it is. What are we actually profiting, and where do we need to tighten up ends? And like recently, I realized I've been having our main worker do things that really don't bring money to the business. They're things that I want done, but I'm like, is that the goal here, or do I want to, have him start making salads? Because that's going to make us money, for example.
Yeah, but what's more valuable, your time doing what you're doing,
Yes,
or
right.
his time in R&D, and he's likely to be the one to actually do this thing moving forward. This is training for him, whether you wind up doing it or not. The research and development part of it, the on-the-job training is all going to equate that's not time wasted.
No, it's
because your time as the business owner being way more valuable. You shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
You should be overseeing
and we're still
it.
in growth mode too. You know, we haven't found our peak. You know, like where's our plateau? Like where are we going? I mean, I have a vision of where we're going, but we're not there. And so, you know, on one hand, he's keeping the lights on. You know, doing the day-to-day planting, transplanting, harvesting, and then I need also him to do the things that are preparing us for tomorrow. You know, and now I'm saying, okay, well, maybe we should not focus so much on tomorrow and focus more on what do we need to bring in for revenue for growth this year. So those are just, you know, typical things that I wrestle with.
That's everybody. Right. That's a constant battle with everybody.
Time. What are your constraints? Time and money, right? Those are like your two biggest constraints. And so, yeah, you balance everything through those main lenses. I feel like I'm missing another one of those in there, but you know, you get the gist of it. We're all
quality.
Yeah.
It's time, quality, and money. You can't have all three. You can have two of the three. So if it's cheap, never mind.
Yeah.
No,
it's two of the three. There's a way you can say it that if it's cheap, if it's low
fast,
quality and low time, then it's cheap.
If it's cheap, fast, or good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's in every tire. That's in every tire shop you've ever been to.
Do what?
That's in every tire shop you've ever been to. That's always on the sign. Anyway, all right. Listen, I'm going to ask you the same question as you're dealing with your direct-to-consumer folks, working with a seasonal product, taking the summer off to some degree. How are you communicating that with your clients, and how are they communicating that to you?
So I don't get too many new customers. So they already know. So my customers already know what to expect. If it tastes a little different this week and you don't like it, it's okay. It'll be back to normal next week. And then I've got some, they told me, you know, I can't stand Mizuna. And if I can remember, I don't put it in there for them. And
if enough people say it, you cut the crop.
Yeah, exactly. But I never have enough. But like I've got one lady, she's been with me for 6 years. And I know she hates Mizuna. And she buys every Sunday. I take her stuff every Sunday. She never complains. So I go out of my way to keep her happy. And, you know, if you're selling to hundreds of people, you can't do that.
Right.
But if you're at a smaller scale like I am, and you farmers markets, you really can't do that unless you know they're coming. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty easy deal for me. Is I don't switch up things. And if there is somebody new, I tell them, hey, this isn't the exact mix you're going to get every week, but it'll be something like this with a few little nuances of flavor here and there.
To some degree, I would argue that you can't even do that for the farmer's market, because then you start setting precedents that, hey, you can call me in special order, you can call me and make me take time out for you. And look, some people are worth it. If this is one of those connectors that we talked about in the last podcast, and every single week they're bringing their friends and they're introducing, of course you would take care of them. But you also run the risk of that person they bring along. Well, can I also? And then here we go.
Right.
You've got to set two things I believe in. You have to set limits on customers, and you can't put your own thought patterns of pricing into your own products, especially if you're selling to people more affluent than what you are currently living at or what you aspire to.
I agree with both of those.
Thank you. As far as direct consumer goes, I also believe this is an endless opportunity of, let's say, do you do any herbs?
No, only because I don't have time.
But you could, I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I could do the common stuff. I could do basil. I could do cilantro. I could do all the
perennial rosemary is a home run around here.
Again, Clark does that and kills it.
What's the number one thing I ask you for?
Well, parsley lately.
Yeah, I know I could sell the herbs.
I can't get it. We're a very steak, beef heavy household. I want chimichurri on everything. I can't get enough.
What's interesting though is it goes in seasons. I mean, that's another challenge we have in the market gardening. It's like, especially if you're dealing with a restaurant, you know, Kit might need a ton of whatever sage for around Thanksgiving or something. You know, it's like, so it's like everything we have, it seems to be not what people need at that moment. You know, and I don't think it's time. It's like what's not the store. That's the other thing that drives business our way. They like, you know, that needs to get switched, right? Because the first thing is let's go to the store And if they don't have it, then we go to the farmer's market. Maybe somebody up there might have it.
Well,
You know,
there's
that's
a reason
pretty
why the
common.
store doesn't have it. It's not in season or it's too far.
Yeah.
It's too expensive for them to ship it from wherever they're
Right.
coming.
So here's a very pinpointing nerdy thing that I've discovered over the years. I see a lot of farmers gearing up towards, let's just say Thanksgiving. I'm talking about all holidays, but
Mhm.
Thanksgiving in particular, I'm going to sell a bunch of Thanksgiving, and and some people totally do. Know a couple of places that cater to more vegans. It's a home run for them. It's perfect. I made the false assumption that was also going to be a home run for us. And the first couple of years, we did a party platter of salads. Nobody bought nothing. And the reason is it's the same thing about the fried catfish bit I had earlier, and that people associate holidays with the same food that they don't want anything new.
Right.
They don't want to try anything new. And so if we go back to the sage example that you just gave, what is always out of stock around Thanksgiving? Sage. You can never find enough. You see it in the beginning and you have to learn to get it quicker, but it always runs out. And so with that, you go, well, is there a market opportunity there? And I would say yes and no. Yes, there is, but only to a very select amount of people that even know what to do with fresh sage, because they're so used to dried sage going in the dressing recipe that they've had for 50 years and have passed that. They don't want your fresh sage.
Right.
And even if they did, a long-term woody crop like that, you're going to grow year round to maybe make $20. That's an opportunity that we don't need to take.
Right.
There's for sure a need for it, but it's not enough of a need to justify the amount of labor, planning, and the real estate that you're going to take up of crops. I would much rather you have more parsley than more sage for that 1 or 2 times a year I'm going to have it.
Yeah, I agree. But you bring up an interesting point. I mean, if somebody who's in the commercial grocery store business would, be a great farmer, because they would be able to know, oh, I know that we don't get basil this time of year, this, right? I mean, if somebody knew what that was in your area, because it's going to differ from, north to south to east to west, right? But that would be another way to, be able to plan a little more and have that market. So it's pretty common. It's repeatable for us.
Yeah. So I think of things actually completely different, like the exact 180 spectrum. What do people eat every day? Like, I'll use collard greens for an example. I sell a ton of collard greens. Yes, people can buy them at the store. They're there every single time they go to the store, just like salad mix is. But I know they're going to buy them year round. Yes, Thanksgiving, I sell a ton of them. And Christmas, I sell a ton of them. But they also buy them in the weeks in between because, not mine, but fresh, organically grown collard greens are so much better than the stores.
Yeah.
And I pick mine a lot smaller than you see at the store. I mean, the one at the stores look like those big palm leaves that you used to fan people with, Whereas I pick mine a lot smaller, which means they're not near as tough. They're easier to saute or whatever you do with collard green. And people just like them better. So I try not to get into the what don't they have. I think more of what do they eat every single week that I know is going to taste better coming from my farm than what they can get at the grocery store. And salad is 1,000% the bread and butter. Collard greens, of course, are great. Tomatoes, all those things are very common that I can sell every single week without even trying to, because mine are just better than the grocery stores and they last longer.
I would agree 100% with that. And that's I would say that's our main go-to-market strategy. Apart from collards, I'm amazed that you can sell collards in Dallas. And here we're in the deep South, which is, I figured everybody would be buying collards, and we might sell 2 bundles a week. I mean, it's pretty remarkable, that you're in Dallas.
Well, I also have a much larger, diverse clientele, probably than y'all do.
Yeah. Well, but collards, I mean, that's like a southern, like even for New Year's, I mean, collard greens and black-eyed peas. Like I figured we'd sell out of collard greens. We had one person last week ask for it, and then they just walked by it.
You know what I figured out? It's not collard greens. New Year's is cabbage.
Cabbage. Yeah.
Like the people at the grocery store on New Year's Eve was 13 people. I counted.
Yeah.
13 people in line waiting on the dude to finish unstocking.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
To sell the cabbage.
Yeah.
The amount of time that a farmer needs to spend in the produce aisle just observing, not shopping, going to the store to specifically observe your local place, going to Whole Foods, going to a Trader Joe's, going to different grocery stores. I love grocery stores. I do this just for entertainment. But just go and just watch people shop. It's hysterical. I love watching people shop for produce, not just for the melons, but for all of it. Just watching what they do. Like I could just imagine these people in the garden, and it would just be a mess.
So I've got a story I've got to share, and I told him in the earlier podcast, I do a lot of consulting, like getting new farmers, helping new farmers get started. And I always tell them, salad mix. So that's my go-to every time for new people. And they're like, well, how do I sell it? I don't know how to sell it. And this guy was not arguing with me, kind of pushing back. I said, look, spend $10 and make business cards. Put your farm's name on it, put your cell number on it. So go to the grocery store. Go to Kroger, and when you see somebody pick up a box of that salad for $6, walk over and say, excuse me, ma'am, I'm a new farm. Here's my business card. I sell that. It's 10 times better than that. My number's on the back. I'll give you your first bag free. And he did it, got kicked out. But he did it to
I was going to say.
He did it to 7 people, and 5 of the 7 people called on him. And he got 5 customers in 30 minutes before he got kicked out. And he was like, that was amazing. They're like, oh, really? Where is they asked questions. They were interested. They were so excited. The biggest problem, I think, with farmers is getting our name out.
I was just going to say the same thing.
That's the hardest thing.
But once you get your name out, like I don't make it down to farmers market very often, but I go down to Paris Grocery. And like half the time, this may just say something about me, like I see your name and I don't really worry about what it is. Like I'm going to get the Paris Natural Farms versus anything else. So like once you do finally get your name out there, like you get those people who I just care that it has your name on it. I'm going to buy it at the grocery.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it.
That's
really
the
is.
biggest
for
part
me,
of it.
even when it has changed my palate to the point earlier of how farming has ruined my taste buds for non-locally sourced,
non-organic,
and just fresh too, right? And it's so very true. I mean, and if there was, and the whole experience too, that's the other part. I mean, like I said earlier, like it's going to taste better. That beet is going to taste better because of where it came from. Even if I don't like it, I'm going to buy it and try it because I know there's a story behind it.
And it's a day old as opposed to 7, 9, 10 days old.
Right. And sprayed with something for longevity. And so it doesn't sprout, all this good stuff, but not good stuff. But to your point, and what you're saying too is getting that name out there. People could see, like if there was a billboard out there and showed like our farms and what we're doing, a GIF, something that shows some sort of animation of or multiple pictures. I mean, it would invigorate people to start eating and buying local. But the problem is you can't take what we're doing so easily and transpose that into everybody's mind. And so it's literally a door-to-door type of thing or word of mouth.
So
right now.
Can I take over for like 30 seconds?
Please do.
So I love this right here. This is my wheelhouse. And I wrote a question down earlier so I can word it exactly right. Just take yourself out of your program right now, the way you do business. How much would it take for you to go deliver to one place? Like how much in sales would it take for you to have to go deliver to one place on a Monday? Not you, but it gets delivered to that one in Paris.
Paris?
The Paris hospital.
Oh, we would do it for $20 because we go to town all the time.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's the right
But
context
assuming
for the
they're going to
question.
call when you're not going to town and it is going to call, you have to build that cost in.
Well, it's not that. It's that they know you're coming.
Yeah.
So this is what I've tried to explain to everybody that I helped, and it works with most of them. Go to that Paris hospital, for example. Take 20 bags that you have too much. Maybe you harvested too much. And walk in there and find the secretary, like the head front lady. That lady's the most important person in that entire building.
Yeah.
Or go to the Paris high school. Okay? Give it to the school secretary, give it to the principal, tell them who you are. It's like, hey, better idea. Feed the staff. Teacher Appreciation Week, feed the staff. And all this I'm trying to say is you want to get your product in front of as many people as you can on one day.
Yeah.
Now, you gave away $60 worth of salad that day. But 15 of them out of the 80, they call you and they buy it. Well, 15, okay, you sell them some salad. But then it just grows because teachers talk. I am one. Trust me, I know. Teachers talk more than anybody in any other profession. All they do is just look little mice.
Yeah.
No offense, but it's a bunch of women. and all they do is talk. So I promise you, if you could focus like on the biggest 2 or 3 places with the most people in one building, and then just say, hey, I'm going to start delivering this every Monday. The first couple of weeks probably suck.
Mm-hmm.
But in 6 months, I'll be surprised if you don't walk out with $1,000 in sales.
Yeah.
And you just did it on a Monday morning.
Right.
Very similar to that, and one that I like just a tad better. Schools were our number one place that we sold salads to. But what worked even better was doing that same exercise of feeding a group of people at one time, but calling every single month. Real estate offices have meetings. Feed that office.
Oh, that's great.
Because these people, real estate agents, know who's coming into, and all you're dealing with is a new influx of people that are coming from not here, that are missing what they used to have. Where do I get? And you're the answer. Yeah. They're so well connected, and real estate agents by default are on every single board, every single volunteer situation. They're well connected, and they know, and to your point, they all chatter. Because not only do they have it in their local office, but they all get together as a group a couple times a year, especially in a smaller market. And that's where we saw a ton of growth.
Schools and hospitals are great, in my opinion, for doing that kind of thing, is because they get 20 minutes for lunch. They are usually trying to lose 20 pounds. Yeah. I mean, most of the time. And they want something quick and easy. Well, what's quick and easier than a salad? Right. And I always tell people, you can have a different salad every 5 days. You can have a chicken salad, a turkey salad, a nut salad, a fruit salad, and an egg white salad. That's 5 different salads for every day of the week. And you take it every Monday morning.
Right.
And, you walk out there with 20 customers. 2 weeks later, you got 25. A week later. Yeah. And then they start telling their sisters, hey, my sister wants one. Can you bring it in?
Yeah.
Dude, it's incredible.
Well, I still have his legacy here because every time I'm talking to somebody, they're like, yeah, there used to be this guy that used to bring up salads. Like, I'm serious. Like, I bet I've heard that 10 times over the last 3 years.
All I have to do is turn on my old Facebook page, which I never did shut down. I just hit it.
Yeah.
Like, take it.
Right.
Because I'm tired of hearing about it myself. Just my email list. Yeah. You think I got rid of that? All I have to do is hand you that. I just have to hand you the keys. Right. You can do whatever you want with it. I'll give you my recipes. I've told you this. Just do it. Mm-hmm. So, 2 things on what you just said. I had a lady one time. She was at the farmer's market. I don't know if I can have a salad a week like that. And off the top of my head, I said 7 days in a week, eat 3 times a day. I said, that's 21 meals in a week. All I'm asking you to do is to have a salad for one of those meals. Not sold her. She signed up right then and there. Because when you think about 21 times, you just have to eat healthy once. Give me a break. It sells itself.
I'm sorry to interrupt. How much did you pay? How much did you charge for that salad?
$13. It was $12.95.
And it was like one. It was a 1 meal. Or could the small person get 2 out of it?
Ask her.
We typically, Josiah and I, my husband, could share one.
Interesting.
A lot of times. There were a couple times like
he was a little extra.
Yeah, he was hungrier, or I was,
so you did without.
Yeah, or we just like.
and to answer the question I always get after this is, how big was the salad? It was by volume, not by weight.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which goes into that Tokyo Benkana being so important to me because it gave that loft. It filled the space.
I can't sell that because I can't pronounce it. Yeah, I'll have to come up.
Not once did I ever say this. She didn't even know what I was talking about until
that's true.
That's the greatest thing that some marketer did for us is spring mix. Great, everything. What's in it? It's a spring mix. What's the base? It's a spring mix, and you don't have to. Some of these stuff you're going to order, you're never going to say right. Forget it. No, you don't have to. It's a spring mix. Is agritourism something you should do to your farm? What I would do in your situation is these people that come up at the farmer's market. I feel like we say these people a lot. Folks that come up to the farmer's market, you know who they are. They follow your Facebook page. To some degree, if they're paying by credit card, you probably have their email, something. You have an email list building or some type of list, social media followers, whatever. Instead of having the farm open to anybody and everybody, and you have an event, you have to advertise it and this, that, and the other, a customer appreciation night or an event at the farm where even if it was just like your top 20 people, you got room for however many people, having them come out, it forces you to get everything cleaned up real good once a year. It's something you can plan for. You can bring a porta potty in. Maybe you do get together with the bakery or have some bottles or wine. And just like, look, this is every single week that you support us, this is where this money is going to. We started here. And like, I've documented your farm for 5 years. You have endless pictures, and you can see, look, to have a timeline on the wall of we started with this tunnel, then we added this one, then this one, then we added this one. Now we have the 2 cat tunnels, and here's the microgreen room, and here's where we were 5 years ago.
And here's where we're going to be in 5 years.
You guys built this.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
It really is a good idea. So we thought about that, and I've just like, it's a ton of work for little money that you would profit. But I just realized
it's
not
the
about
lifetime value of this client.
It didn't dawn on
It's
me
a
that
loss leader in the same way concrete, landscape timbers, and 2x4s are a loss leader for Home Depots because they make 700% on the paint and the hardware and the electrical. You get your farm cleaned up. You get to have a good time. Look, man, when you opened up the Gothic and you had all those people, you had a great time.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. A lot of work. That's what I compared it to, because I was like, okay, if we were to actually do that, I think we had about 100 people show up.
But it's not work. It's part of your marketing budget.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I feel like we said this in the last podcast, like when people have seen your farm and have seen your story, like it's added value, and like they're willing to pay a little bit
you
more
become family.
because
like you really do become like, I think of my customers as family, and I know they like. I got asked to cater a wedding one time, and I said, how many people?
Sure.
And luckily, she said it's family and 3 bridesmaids. It's literally going to be 25 people. And I said I'd be honored to. And like, well, we would just love for you to cater it. And that honestly, so I mean, I catered it with salad mix and some tomatoes.
Right.
So it wasn't a huge deal.
Right.
But I felt honored. And I was like, well, thank you so much. And that meant almost as much as their weekly money that I got from them.
Right.
Let's talk about the ability to leverage online for both of your small businesses. So we'll start Market Gardener first. As far as you're going to the farmers market, and I'm going to come back to Michael for direct-to-consumer sales. Social media, obviously, getting your name out there. The ability to collect credit card transactions, all that thing, but it also means that you have to make sure that you have a supply or a signal and extra batteries and extra cords and everything that you need at the farmer's market to make sure that transaction is going to happen. The ability to track spreadsheets and planning and stuff like that. I want to know other ways, especially you with your background in which you're leveraging computers and online, everything that's available online for your business.
Yeah. And I don't, technology has been my bread and butter, or revenue for, 27 years now. And I don't think I'm even touching the surface on what I could do with technology. Time, though, is my constraint. Even though I know technology and a lot of these tools will get me there, I don't have the time to invest in a lot of these things. I mean, AI could be just wonderful, but I don't have a practical use case at how to implement a lot of these things. I haven't had the time just to explore, with my own ideas, just to like seriously say, okay, what could I do with technology? I mean, a lot of it, like data is probably the most valuable thing I could do. Like if I could get all of the data inputted where I could spit out like a Power BI dashboard, view of graphs of all, I could get answers from my own data. But it takes so much time for me to go get that data and massage it to get it, to get it to produce, to be usable for me. So that's huge for me. I mean, if somebody has that type of capability, that's great. But on a practical daily basis for us, Kanban boards, we use Trello. It's just a simple app every day. It's what I go out, and we've got one for orders, a special board for, have you heard of Kanban boards? It's basically like a sticky note concept. So you've got a column for doing, or backlog, doing, done, essentially, right? And so you could do this with just sticky notes, and you have 3 columns with them, and you just move the sticky note from backlog to done, right? Same thing, just there's an app for it. Kanban, it's a agile working methodology. And so that works for us because I can go and assign people, I can tag it. Hey, this is planting, goes to gauge and needs to be done this day and that, right? And so anyways, we use that tool heavily daily. All workers have that tool. And then Homebase is a good app that we use for, clocking in hours and seeing how much time we're spending on certain things. From a marketing perspective, we use our point of sale system has got an online store. So Square is what we use. We were going to go over and use this other more farm specific app or service for that. And then we realized we started pursuing that, and to get people to go and order online is even though we've shared it with the bakery and some of our, other restaurant customers and people, it's they still call and text, hey, what do you got? And we just, our market doesn't really allow for that. And so I don't know how well it'll go. Our website is so old. So if you go visit our website, you're going to see, I think the one greenhouse that we had up there when we started the farm from January 2020. And so anyways, that needs to get revamped. But then we would like to do more online things on there because it's so outdated, right? I mean, it's just, again, time. It's something I can do, but I need to get time. But the problem is I'm just not finding value, right? You prioritize things by what is going to provide the most value out of your time. And once in a while we'll get somebody visit our website and sign up, for the news, whatever the news distribution, which I don't even do because nobody signs up anymore, right? Because everything is Instagram, Facebook. Those are the main modes of marketing for us. But I do like the online store concept. We just somehow have to get that out to people's hands. But then that means I always have to know what I have in stock. Somebody has to always update it.
But now you're keeping up with two systems. So
right.
Got another story I don't think any of you heard. I spent back in the day about $10,000 on an app, custom app for my salad club. And you could sign up from it, order it, pause your subscription. It was nice. It was super capable. Released it. Nobody fucking cared because they don't want another app. And you've already, in the same reason people aren't using your own online store is you've trained them not to use it already. Had you started out with it and then you unwavered and you never accepted an order, Kit calls and I'm not reading this text, you have to go through the app because that's how our system works. Yeah. And if they cared enough, they would do it. But bringing that in halfway through, it's hard, man.
And again, like you said, they're family. And so most people know what we are doing and they've been our customers for years, through our whole journey, and they know what we have when we have it, apart from the occasional, new things or one-offs that we have. But I would see it as you're expanding markets, that's the season we're in. Now we're looking at, okay, how do we expand? Now this would be a good time for me to mature that because I could go to, for example, if we start getting restaurants in Dallas, right? They're not going to text me, right? These guys don't know me. They know that they may like what we're selling and what we're doing and know our story, but that would be a good time, to start investing into an online.
Right. When you start a new area.
Yeah. Right. Especially people that are outside your local, your geographical area.
Yeah. Cause I remember that app, but I would text Nick and be like, oh, I forgot he has the app now. But I was so used to already texting him. Like you said, you can't change it halfway.
No.
Yeah.
I think
he's making me feel really bad about that app right now. I'm sorry, Nick. I know.
I think the day of the website is gone. How many times do we go to a website?
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very little. I'll check the news maybe or something like that. We don't go to individual websites anymore. So it has to be on a scroll.
Right.
You got to be able to see it on a scroll.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, and I said in the earlier podcast, I love Instagram and Facebook. I love it. And I'm so excited because I'm going to nerd out a minute. But I was listening to Nick and JM talk on their podcast. Have you listened to that?
No, I haven't heard it yet.
You and JM talked about using Facebook as I'm seeding today so you can have tomatoes in 6 months.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I have a Facebook page. I don't use it a whole lot just because I like Instagram better, and Facebook's gotten pretty combobulated. I don't know what the word is. Instagram still is my wheelhouse though. Yeah. But I am going to start doing Facebook exactly the way you said. And I have a page that has very few followers, and I'm only going to add or invite people that I sell to. It's not I'm definitely not including him.
Please
I'm
don't.
just going to include my customers. And then that way they know, because I can't remember who said it, you or JM. It was really smart, so it's probably JM. But he said, one of them said, they don't understand that the tomatoes they're eating today, I've been treating as a baby since for 6 months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it just stuck in me. I was like, you almost guilt them into buying it because you
Well,
worked so hard.
What happens is you remove any notion that they would ever have about $2 for a tomato. Like that goes away.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I can't believe this is only $3 at that point. Like you totally remove any assumption of what that cost and what the value of it is because they have seen
Each step.
and it's not planting the seed, it's putting in a hoop house or adding a silage tarp or adding a green crop and then turning it over and yada yada, and it just builds on and on. There is a crazy amount, and I think once you get used to telling that story to somebody else, then it's an easy call to this whole thing that farmers tend to have. I don't want to raise my prices. This is obviously I have to raise my prices because of the level of care that goes into it. Anybody's thinking about how lofty their greens are. I never had a balk at price. And what I did have was I would never pay $13 for a salad, and they sure were right. I didn't care because I never had to deal with their complaints and all their stuff that I would have heard had they had to sacrifice for that. And I'm sorry that some people do, but we're running a business here. This is a market gardening podcast. We are needing to find people that can easily afford what we have to do because it can't be a struggle week over week to retain this customer. That it's the cost of getting the customer and it's the cost of maintaining that customer. And if you're not having to spin your wheels or your time or writing an email or dealing with Karen that's calling in, you don't have any of that retention cost.
Yeah, that's really good points. In going back to what Michael was just saying too, referring to your interview with JM, the ability to, if you could somehow capitalize or market that a little more precisely, like the stages of a plant. Paris Grocery, Kit actually asked me, he's like, could you actually, if we had a calendar up there or something, could you actually, say, hey, we just planted this, expect this on, this date. That's that same thing.
That's a great idea.
It's a smaller market right there, that store, but at the same time, it's doing the same thing. It's telling the story. It's almost, like we take pictures of our babies from every day, and
every
the same
month
thing.
now.
Yeah. Now
So
it's plants.
like 3 years, you have 36 pictures of 36 months.
Yeah.
Well, look, Kit's in a unique experience in that. So we keep saying these people like everybody knows who the hell we're talking about. Kit owns the bakery, also owns, what's the store?
Paris Grocery.
Paris Grocery. It's the place. Where else are you going to go? That's where we go to eat. He has a very unique opportunity because he does use so much local stuff. I don't know why we don't have a night once or twice a year in which it's an invite only. Yes, they pay for the ticket, the meals included, but he gets to host at his restaurant. We're going to bring Karl up, and Karl's going to tell us about his farm, and you're going to go into your bit, and then we're going to bring, this is where we get the flowers, and this is where we get this, and this is where we get that. And the people that spend the most money now get the opportunity to ask the purveyors questions of stuff that's coming in and eating. And we get to ask the questions that we've always wanted to ask. I mean, I don't, but somebody, Joe Smo would love that opportunity to meet who is growing the food with the person that's preparing it.
Yeah.
Because the people that shop at Paris Bakery and Paris Grocery really care.
Yeah, they do.
That could also be a great way for you to get info from them and say, hey, what's a product y'all would that y'all would like to see that I'm not growing? Write it down. Write down your 3 favorite that I'm not growing on a piece of paper. Put it in the box on your way out.
Right.
And then if you got
Get a bunch
18
of them.
people saying beets,
Yeah.
start planting beets.
The other thing, if you're selling to the grocery store, they would open up the floodgates for you. If you would go to their marketing manager or their produce manager and be like, hey, do you mind if on what's your busiest day? And then they'll tell you, do you mind if on Saturdays between 10 and 2, I come up and just set up a little tiny place for me to stand so people can meet the farmer since you're carrying our stuff.
Yeah.
And you're doing your own marketing and they're thrilled and they're going to tell,
Yeah, and we have some other places down in Sulphur Springs and in Cooper that
Cupper.
Cupper. Cupper. That's how you're supposed to say Cooper.
Cooper.
Right?
That's
No,
Cupper.
It's Cupper.
It's Cooper.
If you're
Talk to people from Cupper. They'll tell you it's
Yeah,
Cupper
it's-
real quick.
Meh.
I'm going by Cooper tonight and saying I love Cooper and see if I
Cupper
can beat up.
Bulldogs.
That's how you know if you're a local or not. So anyway, but they have multiple times asked us, hey, we're having our come meet the vendor, but 35-minute drive to go maybe meet one or two people.
Yeah, but who's that one person?
I don't know.
Like, and I know, I get it. You're busy. Trust me, I'm a busy guy too, but I will literally drive an hour to meet one person. Because for some reason, in my head and in my heart, I'm going to meet one person, and it's going to be Mark Cuban's cousin.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, like, it's going to be the most random person ever. I know it. I have no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
One day, I'm going to meet somebody who's going to be the cousin, the sister-in-law, best friends, neighbor with Cuban or Jerry Jones. Like, just get me in front of as many people. And I think that's why I do so much. Like, I never say no to anything. Because, I mean, you could be best friends in 5 years. We could be business partners on some crazy idea that has nothing to do with farming.
Yeah.
Probably won't be technology because Instagram's about as technological as I get. But
well, but also I feel like when you're meeting the people, like, I was getting your stuff at farmer's market before, but like the more I get to know you and like the more I see you, the more I am definitely like, I want to buy Karl's stuff because he's my friend.
Yep.
So, I mean, I feel like,
Which means she's going to go out of her way to do it.
Yeah.
She's going to tell her friends about it, and she's going to pay more without hesitation.
the biggest thing in that statement you just made is she's going to tell her friends. Like, I cannot get across how many sales that I've made. I'm going to say less than 20% of the people that I sell to, I actually sold them. It was, hey, my neighbor get your stuff, and she was bragging on it and gave me your number. Can I get some next time you deliver to her? I'm at least 75%.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I said that earlier too. It's like word of mouth. How do you for market gardeners, right? I mean, if you're Amazon and McDonald's, right, you go spray the internet and advertise and
But see, how much of those advertisings really work anymore?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I really don't think.
I'd say pretty well. I think they're
do
doing
you
all
think
right.
so? They still work?
Yes, of course.
Because I see it, and it's like a Charlie Brown teacher talking to me.
Okay, they don't work on you because you're more attuned to what's going on. Drive by any Walmart or any McDonald's right now, line to the road. Go over there by Cedar Hill on Interstate 20 where that Amazon thing is, and trucks are lined up miles down the road. I think they're okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying they're hurting. Amazon works because of the convenience, not because of advertising.
But it's in part of
But
it.
look at Buc-ee's advertisement.
But that's amazing. That's the best thing you could say.
If y'all don't know what Buc-ee's is, just Google it.
It's ridiculous.
B-U-C-K-E-E-S.
Yeah.
Hating.
One C? Buc-ee's. Yeah, B-U-C-E-E-S. Look it up.
Gas station.
Gas
We're
station.
talking about a gas station, by the way.
Anyway, but you'll go down and then there's you're 50 miles away from a Buc-ee's and there's a
sign for it.
A sign saying turn.
And then as you get closer, there's hundreds. I mean, there's literally. So advertising does work. I just don't know, for us, bringing it back to our conversation here, is word of mouth still seems to be the best way of it. But I think that it would explode if you could somehow get, what we all know, what's happening behind the scenes and how beautiful it is. When somebody steps on our farm and they experience that, and your farm the same thing, when a customer comes out, that's what I'm trying to portray, is how do you get that excitement right out to the general public? Because
But couple that with what Michael talked about earlier in targeting those ads to very specific people. I mean, look, if you add a checkbox and you do, as you're targeting these ads, and you go, I want to talk to people that buy Chevys, or I want to talk to people that buy Porsches and Mercedes, who do you want to talk to? It's all there. All those tools are available.
So I've also done this just again because I love this part of the business. In Paris, it would work great. Who's do you know who's the most popular female in Paris? PTA president?
God, dude,
God bless.
this is hysterical.
Like there's 5 women in Paris, Texas that have 30,000 followers on Instagram, and most of them are from Paris. Okay, not 30,000. There's only
Let's not do
25,000.
this. Let's not do this. I mean, for real, because I'll get fucking sideways out here.
You know what? You know where I'm
this is
going
a horrible
with it,
example.
Well, no, in a small town, it's perfect. You give it away to the most popular person in Paris.
Yeah.
Find them, introduce yourself, give it away to them for free, and say, hey, if you like it, put just tell them you got it from, your farm's name.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to sell the experience, like that feeling when somebody who has no idea how you farm enters into a market garden, your tunnel, my tunnel, anybody's tunnel, and they see this stuff. Like, how do you capture that sense, right? To like McDonald's can do that on TV. They can show you a big juicy burger, grease, cheese melting, that whole experience. You can see it right live in front of you. Instagram, I think, is a good.
But why can't you? Why can't you?
I don't know.
You would kill it on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, we're on Instagram. I'm just saying
I know, and I've looked at it. But
snippets.
You need to post, because that's what I do. I post the prettiest pictures you can find. Like, spend like hours, not throughout months, just taking beautiful pictures of like 4 heads of lettuce.
But it's still the audience thing.
Or you could just ask me for pictures.
Like for Paris, right?
Yeah, Nick's got the pictures.
The tools are there, but I'm saying is, how do you get the audience to
by reverse
Paris?
By looking at an ad that stops you in your tracks, no matter who is this from, and just recreating that ad. Big juicy burger, great. Crisp head of lettuce, no problem. Coming out of the washer, dripping with the water, the same damn thing they do on a McDonald's commercial. You just, what did they do? Shot for shot, recreate it, but on your farm. You'll have to be a tiny creative.
And then I get I understand the other half of what you're saying is, how do you get people to see that picture? Right. And that's where you get.
That's the whole point.
The 2 or 3 really good, popular people in Paris to post about it. Like it's like a 2 or 3 way intersection. You got to do all those things to get. Like in Dallas, I used the hashtag Dallas Vegan. And there's like 40,000 users that use Dallas Vegan.
You can see the follower, like hashtag Paris, Texas. You can see how many people follow that versus hashtag visit Paris
some of
or
that's
whatever.
probably just creativity in terms of tagging and, targeting specific audience.
Or like click hashtag Paris, Texas. Go down there and lay in your bed. Like I used to make the joke. I used to lay in my bed in my underwear and do this. Because I literally just lay there on my phone and I'd get customers. Because I'd click Paris, Texas, and then I would start clicking on everybody, and I'd go to each person's profile. If I found someone with 18,000 followers, follow them.
Yeah.
And then if they follow you back, send them a message that says, "Hey, thanks for the follow." That's it.
Yeah.
If they reply, "Hey, I love," and then I would almost always get a reply, "Hey, I saw your pictures. Your stuff's beautiful. How do I buy it?" Oh, funny you ask. And literally, it's like, who Gary Vee is? Have you ever heard of Gary Vee? It's you don't ever sell on the first date. You have to romance them and like following them, send them the message. And then the third date, which is, "Oh, funny you ask. I sell it here, here, and here. Would you like to try some?"
Yeah.
And then you get that first person with 15,000 followers.
Right.
I don't know. I love that process.
I do too. But here's another where I'm going with this too. Like, because we still to this day, we had a front page article from someone from the Paris News. And we hear more comments about that. That was 3 years ago than we do about anybody saying, "No, I saw you selling produce on Instagram," because we're deep south, not too many Instagram, Facebook users, in these parts. So most of and I'll put it this way, I would venture to guess 95% of our followers are not our customers, right? They're way outside of our geographical selling range.
Well,
so
you've had a little exposure nationally here. And other farmers are following. Yeah. I'm gonna wrap this one up.
Yeah.
But the reoccurring theme that I've heard over the last however long this one's gone is we're too busy. We don't have enough time. Which tells me that we're not spending enough time removing ourselves away from the day to day, removing our scheduling. I am going to use today or this afternoon or even this hour to deliberately investigate these market opportunities, whether that's going to the grocery store to observe and not to shop, whether that's deconstructing an ad that you like and then watching one of 5 billion, this is how you target people on Facebook situations and just trying a tenth of it, because that is so much further than where you were a little bit ago that as the farm business owner, both of you, it requires the dedication to go, I'm going to, on purpose and very diligently, stop for this set amount of time and work on this aspect of finding this opportunity.
Preach.
There you go. That's all I got.
Very well said.
That's all I got. So the next one that we're going to cover. Michael brought this up several times. We are going to take a look at some clips from the JM interview and get two very different market gardeners' takes on what was discussed.
Awesome.
Little reaction video kind of thing.
Cool.
If you want to see that, it's on the Bootstrap Farmer main channel. If you're new to the Market Gardener by Bootstrap Farmer channel, please like and subscribe. We're going to get super deep into all this and more on the next one. Gentlemen, Gary, thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. See you.
We live?
Yeah, of course we're live.
All right.
The red dots all over the place.
I'm already editing 3 seconds into it.
Can't even get going.
Here we go.